101 Dalmatians was released in 1961 by Walt Disney Animation and is based on the novel of the same name by Dottie Smith, and is their 17th animated feature film overall, and follows a litter of Dalmatian puppies who are abducted by the minions of Cruella de Vil, while the owners try to find them before she can use them for a diabolical fashion statement. I've always been a huge fan of 101 Dalmatians, but it was the live-action film with Glenn Close that I have the fondest memories with. But still, this film was one I watched a lot as a kid. It was short, simple, and most importantly, fun. And it's always a joy to revisit, due in part to its unique style, music, and fantastic main villain. 101 Dalmatians also marks a transition into a new era for Disney animation. After the box office failure of Sleeping Beauty, the Disney company was in a bit of financial trouble, and they even considered getting rid of the animation department altogether. The rising cost of animation was putting too much of a strain on the company, and thankfully animator Ub Iwerks, who was in charge of special processes at the studio, came up with a cheaper alternative to keep that animation studio afloat, and he began experimenting with Xerox photography. This involved using a Xerox camera to transfer drawings by animators directly to animation cells. This would eliminate the inking process and save on both time and money. However, this process had its drawbacks, and as you'll see during this era of animation, gone is the fine line and inking of earlier animation efforts, and it's instead replaced by a scratchy, almost unfinished style with harsh black lines. Due to this process, I think a lot of the animation around this time looks a lot older than earlier Disney efforts, but it's also a style that makes these films feel so unique to anything that came before or after. That's really the first thing you notice when starting up 101 Dalmatians. The animation just feels different. I used to not be a big fan of it, but over the years, my appreciation for it has only grown, and it's because of this process the studio was able to continue making these movies. So it was necessary for the time, but still manages to be full of life. Because of this, 101 Dalmatians is able to stand out among the Disney films that we've discussed before to form a style all its own. It goes in the exact opposite direction Sleeping Beauty took by pushing animation to its absolute limit, and this time just scales it back a bit while doing something new. The characters and architecture are much more angular in design. Gone is some of the roundness of the characters and faces. Everyone in this film feels like a stick figure with some notable exceptions here and there, but it makes the film stand out. Everyone falls in line with the angular design of the buildings, such as Roger's and Anita's house, which is a tall, skinny building on the streets of England. It also allows them to be very creative with character designs, such as Cruella de Vil, which is this pale skin and bones woman that is wrapped up in a fur coat as if protecting her from completely falling apart. It allows her to be a larger-than-life villain as she hides under her fur coats. Cruella is really just a great villain overall. This era of Disney just knew what it took to make the purest form of evil, and I think Cruella comes near the top of many people's lists of best Disney villains. She's iconic, her goal is simple enough to understand, and we instantly see her for what she is, a very evil and wicked person that hides under all that fur to hide her true intentions from everyone else. It's brilliant. She's scary, far from beautiful, and so fun to watch, and her performance is as animated as the animation. Betty Lou Gerson is perfect in this role. After originally being the narrator of Cinderella, she returns and is absolutely immortalized as this villainous character. I love how exaggerated the animation is with her, especially during the climax, and we see just how determined she is to get what she wants with her car literally falling apart on the road. It shows her determination, and she actually might be the most determined Disney villain at this point. Her henchmen Jasper and Horace are also fun characters and provide some rather violent moments sprinkled in the film, as well as some major laughs. And that's something this film does a very good job of, and that's the humor. It's a very funny movie with very cynical characters, and it can be very mean at times. I love Roger's snarky attitude about Cruella's visit to his house, and how he has no problem singing a nasty song about her, which is one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. They just really did a good job, I think, of balancing the story between the human characters and the Dalmatians. In Lady and the Tramp, the humans were very much side characters, but the decision to provide personality to many of the human characters makes them shine, and the Dalmatians are all fun, but still fall into the trap of feeling more like personality traits rather than characters similar to the Seven Dwarfs. But when you have a movie that's about 101 Dalmatians, you're going to have to cut some corners here and there. Nonetheless, I think 101 Dalmatians provides memorable, likable characters, and also provides a really fun story that old and young can both enjoy. The music is also just great. There's not a whole lot of it like in other Disney movies, and with Roger being a musician, the music isn't just bursting into song. It's more natural for its character, and Cruella de Vil is one of the absolute best Disney villain songs. It paints a great picture of the villain and tells you exactly how she is while also poking fun at her. It is easily singable and just great overall, and it's the one thing I think of as soon as I start thinking about this movie. 101 Dalmatians is just a lovable Disney film that you can't help but love. And it does an excellent job of condensing its source material into a pretty fun film that isn't one of Disney's best efforts, but it is instantly recognizable and fun to experience. All the characters are a joy to watch, the villain is great, and music really captures the imagination. The animation is also really good. As I said, despite the cheapness of it, they managed to develop a great style for 101 Dalmatians that makes it stand out, and the imperfections in the animation end up being its strengths. This movie is boosted by just really fun characters and a great atmosphere, and makes it instantly rewatchable and worth your time. I think it's a great showcase for the capabilities of the Xerox processing, which I have never been the biggest fan of, but I am a big fan of this movie, and it's one I do dwell on far after it's over. It's just a memorably fun time that's dark, cute, and very likable. And with all that said, I'm going to give 101 Dalmatians a 7 out of 10. I always have a fun time watching 101 Dalmatians. It's nowhere close to being one of my favorite Disney animated films, but it's one of the most rewatchable and just purely fun ones to visit. But what do you think of 101 Dalmatians? Let me know, and as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and stay positive.